Ladies and gentlemen, another Africa which I tried to bring up to the level was the question of war in my country. For more than 23 years, my country was under siege of armed groups, armed rebels. They did not want to sit down to talk on table. I did a miracle. And I want to thank God for having given me this stamina, the impetus, the zeal, the courage, the determination to seek peace for my country. I want to thank God for having stood by me on all these ventures of peace. As I moved for peace in Garamba Park, in Congo, to find out where the rebels were, to bring to the international community, to speak frankly on television, as I was telling Ugandans that we needed to sit and talk, because the war, and I told President Museveni, the war, I told President Clinton on this journey, when he visited Uganda, you can look for CNN archives. My interview was very clear with President Clinton and President Museveni. We were captured very well in an argument of 2 hours. I told them, let's have peace. Let's talk. Let's start talking. The results of my determination to bring peace in northern Uganda between the government and the Lord Resistance Army were fruitful. We did work out modalities, reparations. We did work out, and I invented one good name. I owe it to Babu Aindo, Dr. Babu Aindo, who inspired me, who taught me one word. I owe it to my friend Dr. Barre of Denmark, I owe it to Dr. Riakamacha, Dr. Ruakana Rugunda, Dr. Chisano, and others, and His Excellency President Museveni of Uganda, and the late President of Kenya, Mwai Kibaki, who encouraged us to take a peaceful route to the resolution of this conflict. I owe it to President Chikwete, Jakaya Chikwete, to late President Mugabe, who at times looked after me whenever I could go to Zimbabwe. I owe it to Emerson Mnangagwa, who could look after me whenever I could go to Zimbabwe. The late General Vinavashe, to General Constantine Chiwenga, who are personal friends, whom I've visited their homes, stood, ate in their homes, in their compounds, in their rural areas. I thank you for all the encouragement you told me to go, and I owe it to Joseph Kabila, the president I met. I owe it to Omar Bashir, the president I met and discussed the issues of Uganda, peace in my country, Uganda. President Salva Kiir, he wouldn't ask who Matsanga is. None of these people can ask who Matsanga is. I owe it to Ban Ki-moon, who knew me personally. I owe it to Guterres, who was by then in Sudan, Khartoum, working on the peace process of Darfur. Thabo Mbeki, all of you, we have worked together to get peace for Africa. Today stands at the brink of disaster. Across the continent of Africa, conflicts have resurrected. More are in pipeline coming. What do we do as Africans? What do we do as people who have done something before? Do we go on lamenting about the emperor? But we had the capacity to be part and parcel of the both wars because we have veterans on our continent of Africa. That is my second achievement as a human being on planet Earth. Ladies and gentlemen, what else is Africa? What else can we do to become part and parcel of the Africa we want? Is it the way that we have done our things that has caused us quite a lot of difficulties? What has made Africa look like a child that needs help all the time? Why is it we don't make our last stand? Why is it that we don't make a stand and say enough is enough? Why don't we take positions? Why is Africa afraid of taking positions? Like the two positions I took. Nobody liked to hear the name of Mugabe in Europe. But I risked myself and stood for Europe, for Africa, and I said, don't isolate President Mugabe. Engage Mugabe so that you can make a better Africa. Engage Mugabe so that Africa can change. Engage Mugabe so that Zimbabwe can change. Contain him. The people did not listen as to why we did not engage Africa. Is this the Africa that we want? Yes, we want a better Africa. An Africa without wars. An Africa without conflict. An Africa that inspires hope. But where is the hope here? Where do we have the hope? Where do we get the hope when we have no hope? When do we get the solutions when we have no solutions? I agree with His Excellency President Dr. William Ruto of Kenya on this one. On the Pan-African front, we agree totally, 100%. And Your Excellency, this message will reach you. I have no qualms on the Pan-African front, and I will stick on that line. I will always maintain the support, the Pan-African vision, just as I support the Pan-African vision of President Museveni. I have no regrets. You can hate me on any other things, but not me as a Christian, an Anglican, to face the truth on Pan-Africanism. That is the value that I hold. That is the value that I intend to have as an African. I have no regrets for that. We agree on issues of Africa. Why should Africa be borrowing, begging, yet we have the resources which we can utilize all the time? This begs questions. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, my bold step number 3. Those are 2 bold steps that I've done in my life. The bold step number 3. Way back in 2005, the International Criminal Court issued warrants of arrest for 5 commanders of the Lord Resistance Army. These warrants were issued in a very unclear circumstances, disregarding and under Article 15, Article 13, of which the chief prosecutor can utilize any type of powers to issue warrants of arrest. But what rocked my heart was the manner of selection of type of justice which was to be delivered to the people of Uganda. It was true, and it is true, and will remain true, that a war is not fought by one side. A war is fought, that's why it is called a war. It has two sides. There is a warring party, advanced party, and a re-engaging party. That's why it's a war. There are two sides exchanging not water, but they all kill each other. And it is called a war. It's the act of violence where each side is trying to outsmart the other. So you cannot call it not a war. It is a war. And a war, in such a sense. So for me, I disagreed with the chief prosecutor of International Criminal Court then, Luis Moreno Ocampo. I said, this is not the best way to issue warrants of arrest. From 2005, ladies and gentlemen, those who listen to my clip, to this clip, I have been against the International Criminal Court, and I will never change my stance, whether I'm being lowered in the grave, going back to see the Maker who brought me on earth. My stand remains: the ICC has not been a court, but a political tool that has been used by the West to police other nations in the world. If you can see, all the signs are written on the wall, to the extent that today the Russian president has been picked out, and he's the only one whose warrant has been issued. But you have not gone to Ukraine, that is actually sending unmanned planes to be dropped on the civilians while they are sleeping in Moscow, in Russia. That is what we should look at, both sides. Are we not killing human beings? There's no side killing stones. Both sides are killing human beings. They should be condemned, both of them. I'm not a communist, neither am I a capitalist, because I don't own much property in the world. I own what God has agreed for me to have. But I stand in the middle to ask questions, very serious questions. Why should we have an organization, an agency? It came to Kenya. In 2005, Kenyans didn't know that 3 years to come, or 4 years to come, or 5 years to come, their own leaders would be paraded into International Criminal Court. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, William Samoei Ruto, 6 and 4 others, Arap Sang, General Hussein, the police commander, Mudhaura, and Henry Kosingi, were chosen and put on a platform for slaughter. Not because people did not die, people died. But the investigations which put this gentleman on a platform of slaughter was skewed, flawed. A flawed investigation does not give you international law, does not deliver international justice.